Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. And if you're seeing this as a replay, you're going to be able to see the chat box as it flows along. As we go through this, if you have questions or comments, put those in either the chat box or the comments below. And if you have questions for me, my name is Andy, and my special guest, Rodney Wilds, he and I are going to be doing this live stream called Dollars and Cents every week. Every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I think, is the time we've settled into. But if you have questions for us, our contact information's in the description box below. Not trying to sell you anything. Just if you got questions, that's the only reason we're here, is to help you answer questions. So I'm going to bring in Rodney here.
What's up, Andy?
Here he comes. There we go. Hey.
How we doing?
There you go. Good. This is Rodney Wilds. He's the VP of F&M Mortgage. I've worked with him for a lot of years, and he is a lender that I trust. And our goal today is pretty simple, really. That if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of change going on in the real estate market right now. Things are slowing down, things are changing, but people are still getting loans and people are still buying houses. And what we're trying to do is put you in a position that if you come up against multiple offer situation, you can be in a better position. Is that right, Rodney? Do I have that close?
100%. Yes. We just come out with a new program with that cash to funds or funds to cash. What it is, basically, it eliminates your financing contingency from your contract, and hopefully that moves it up to the top of the stack.
Right.
If you're dealing with competitive offers, competing offers.
So that anybody I think we have to probably think that anybody that might be watching this stream is maybe a first-time buyer. So let's address kind of starting from scratch a little bit. Like, for example, there's a number of different kinds of loans. And if I was a first-time buyer and I said, what are the different kind of loans are there? What would you say? Conventional, VA, FHA, that sort of thing?
Yes, there's basically there's I have them like 3 or 4 categories. One is your conventional loans that you're going to have a down payment with, and then you have your typical FHA, VA if you're a veteran, and then some other specialty programs. But if you're a first-time home buyer with no money down, there's state programs that can help you with your down payment as well.
Okay. And so
most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to step on you.
That's okay. It's, what we're seeing now, though, with such a competitive market, what we're trying, the programs we're coming up with is just trying to help your offer get accepted. Now,
Right.
There has been, a lot more inventory the last few weeks, which is helping a ton, and especially for first-time home buyers. This is really, over the last 2 years, in my opinion, the first time that first-time home buyers even have an option to buy a house. Since there's more inventory, you can actually go look at a house and maybe even get an inspection on it, without having to have 12 offers competing,
Right. Well, and isn't that now and you know this because we worked so close together over the last couple of years. I've worked with a lot of buyers where we put in offer after offer after offer, and we're getting beat. And because they're going to look at, like, when the seller gets multiple offers, they get to choose who they consider the best offer to be, right? I mean, that makes sense. And it's not always the dollar amount. Most of the time, I admit that it probably is, but not always. And so this last year or so, if anybody wanted to submit an offer and it was FHA, I knew the seller was going to say no to that. Now, can you explain why FHA is frowned on by sellers?
Well, it's really in my opinion, it's really a bad rap, Andy, because the only difference between there's several differences, but what sellers think is that an FHA appraiser is going to value their home less than a conventional appraisal, which is not the case. And then the second thing is, FHA has that clause in there where if they feel like if FHA appraisal is done and there's repairs on it, then the repairs have to be completed before the close of the sell the home. And right now, sellers are not wanting to do any repairs because they have 15 contracts to choose from, right?
Yeah.
So those two are the biggest misconceptions. And I'll tell you why they're misconceptions. It's like if I order a conventional appraisal or I'll order a FHA appraisal, it's probably the same appraiser. Like it goes to the same exact appraiser list than it does. It doesn't matter what type of loan type it is. It's still the same appraiser doing that. So if he feels like
Right.
the home is worth 500,000 when it's a conventional loan, he's going to say it's worth 500,000 on an FHA loan. That doesn't change the value. And the repair part is just not a big deal at all. We very rarely get repairs on FHA loans that wouldn't be on a conventional loan. Those are more like safety issues, like
Right.
handrail missing or a piece in the sidewalk is up 6 inches where it really looks like a tripping hazard or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And those are going to have to be fixed, whether it's conventional or FHA. It's just people over the last, 25 years think that FHA beats up the house. FHA appraisers beat up the house worse than they actually do.
Well, and to keep things in perspective, when I tell people about FHA loans, usually it's somebody that um, I think the barrier to getting a loan with FHA is a little bit less, isn't that right? It's a
Yes,
little easier.
FHA is a little bit more. They allow a little bit more credit issues. They're easier to qualify for because
Yeah.
they have a lower credit tolerance. And if had some late payments or something, which results in a credit issue, that's not as severe as punishment. And they don't kill you on a rate. Like if you have a below 700 or low 600 score, the rate is still really good for FHA. Where if you went conventional, the Fannie Mae limits or the Fannie Mae adjusters to the rates would really hurt you with a low 600 score with a conventional loan. So that's pretty much driving our FHA businesses is if a person's had some issues with their credit or got low 600 credits.
Right. And the reason um, uh, um, the purpose of FHA is to protect the consumer. That was kind of the reason it was created, right?
Uh, all of them are really to protect the consumer now because everything is, fixed. We don't do a lot of that negative amortization. We don't do any of the negative amortization, nor do we do what's called the outside of QM loans, which are qualified mortgages, means everybody has to have an actual pay stub, and we're not doing, the mortgage industry is not doing that 228 arm, a 2 year arm. So FHA, the good thing about FHA, in my opinion, is that one, it allows some credit issue,
Right.
like if you've had some issues in the past to still qualify, and two, it allows you to get in for 3.5%. That's the biggest thing on FHA. It allows you to finance the upfront premium. You have your mortgage insurance financed in there, and it allows you to buy a home with less than perfect credit right now versus trying to get your credit fixed, save up for a 20% down payment, and then pay 200,000 for the house more in a year from now.
Got it. That's interesting. And Jordan has a really good question here. You brought up two things. What's the difference in inspection and appraisal? That's going to be a pretty common question for people.
Good question. Yeah, a home inspection is done outside of the mortgage lender, right? You're going to hire your home inspector, which I'm sure, Andy, you have a home inspector you can refer. And then what happens is a home inspector is really going in there and he's paid to find, hopefully, every single thing wrong with the house, right? So be prepared when you get this. It's going to be a lot, and there, when you spend 4 or 5 hours at a house, a trained professional like a home inspector is, they're going to find a lot of stuff, and that's their job. So be prepared for that. So they're going to tell you what is wrong with the house. An appraisal tells you what the value, their opinion of value
Right.
based on the comps that have sold in that area. Okay. So if the house, they're just putting together houses, and it doesn't have to be exact. We get a lot of questions like, oh, mine has such a nicer refrigerator, and my stove was, my whole kitchen appliances. That's all well and good. It'll help your home sale, but it doesn't necessarily always affect the value of it. They're going to compare it to homes down the street, similar size, and try to make adjustments. Um, based on, like, if your house is bigger, it would appraise for more than the one that sold, just like it, say they were in similar shape, similar acreage, and things like that.
Got it. Okay. So bottom line is the inspector checks on the condition of the home. The appraiser checks on the value of the home.
Correct.
I mean, that's probably, you probably said that and I just didn't hear it. Sorry.
Yeah, and the appraiser are going to have a lot on there about market conditions and things like that. He's going to have a lot of details about your room diagrams, the square footage, things like that.
Okay. Then this is really good. This is really good. So then, real quick, just touch on a VA loan. And for everybody that's watching, the reason we're going through these other loans, we're going to get to the all cash offer. That's the point of the video. But in order to understand why that's important, and there's going to be conditions, I think, with that, we got to understand what your other options are. So a VA loan, real straight, quick, is just, I mean,
VA loan is one of my favorite loan products. You have to be a veteran to be on the loan. If you can't have a co-borrower if you're on VA. If you're a VA, you either have to have your spouse on there or be on there by yourself.
right.
But it's a great zero down program. They have fabulous rates, and it's a pretty good loan. It's very similar to the qualifying, just like the FHA loan. It's flexible. You don't have to be perfect,
Right.
and the rates are really good. So I love the VA program. It's awesome. We do a lot of VAs because we're close to a base in my home office is close to a base in Clarksville,
Yeah.
uh, Fort Campbell. So we do a lot of VA. We have our veterans are pretty awesome. We love the VA loan.
Okay. All right. So then we get um good. We're rocking and rolling here. Then so let's talk for a minute, and I really appreciate this time. And I tell you what, moving forward week to week, Rodney, this is going to be great because there's stuff happening every week, which we'll get to in a minute, that we can address real time. And I mean, we don't want to throw numbers around, but you do a lot of loans, so you're familiar with cash flow and stuff like that from lending. So with a conventional loan for somebody that is considering that, and we'll sum this up in a second, but conventional loan means what?
Conventional loan for us just means it's going to be the end buyer or the end person making our rules is Fannie or Freddie. And they're going, it's a standard, pretty much standard automated system that we can run it through automated, on our computers and get the findings. But conventional loan is fairly easy. The thing about conventional is you need to have a decent credit score and you need to have a down payment.
So if
Okay.
could you rough that? Could you give a rough estimate on that, or is that
Yes,
different for everybody?
FHA starts getting very competitive if you're under 700 credit score, 600 credits, 680, 700 credit score. You need to start looking at FHA to compare the mortgage insurance and things like that. That's if you have less than 20% down. if you're putting 20% down, this is pretty much the go-to one.
The conventional loan.
The conventional product. Yes. One of the down things about a FHA would be the mortgage insurance is on there for the life of the loan. And if conventional, you start out with mortgage insurance, you can get rid of it later in the loan as soon as your equity gets built up in your house. You can either wait till it gets to the point like 78% of what
Right.
you bought it at, or you
Yeah.
can call your servicer and say, I think my equities went up, and go through their process to see if they'd remove the mortgage insurance, if you're at your 20% mark yet.
But with FHA, you don't have that option.
FHA, it's on there for good. You need to just hang tight until you can get either move or potentially refinance that if it's in a good market, or maybe even refinance out. I like to tell people, if you're going to refinance, if you're planning on refinancing and going to be there for a while, then let's wait until we can knock that term down, maybe a 20 or a 15-year term,
Right.
and then get out of that FHA loan.
Okay. Then, all right. So let me tell a story. Since I'm the one out in the field, you're the one that processes the loan. What we found when I went out with a number of buyers over the last year and a half was that when a house went on the market, people were crawling all over it first 2 days. If it was an open house, it looked like some sort of a music festival because everybody showed up. But if we wanted to win the house, we had to get in there, we had to see the house, and we had to be fast on the offer. And then they would put a multiple offer deadline, which means for anybody that's not been through it, you submit an offer for X amount of dollars, and then on a particular day, usually 2 or 3 days in the future, the agent and the seller would make a decision and pick from the offers that they had received. And from that, they're going to go through and they're going to decide FHA no, or VA or no, or they're going to conventional maybe. And usually of a multiple offers, which was, I think that Realtor.com said like 60% of all home sales had multiple offers or something during the last year. It was a huge, huge number. We got another question coming up from Angie. But that's what they're going to do is they're going to pick from the best of the litter, and it's the agent's job. Candidly, the listing agent's job is to pick the best offer for the seller. That's their job. And so
Right.
what we as buyer agent have to do is present the best offer that we can that works for everybody, a win-win. Okay. I've got Angie online here. Rodney, she's got a really good question. Even before we got to the all cash part, but let's look at this. If you have to sell your home in order to pay cash for your next home, at what point do you make an offer on the new home?
All right. Well, that's a good one. That's a great question. First, that's your choice, right? We look at my job is to kind of help you and the customer and Andy figure out how the best way to structure the offer. If you can't qualify with both payments, and then I suggest right now we have more inventory. Like right now in our market, we have more inventory. So I would suggest either a home sale contingency or seeing if you could do a bridge loan or qualify for both payments until your house sells. Either one of those options. And I really like being able to say that you can do a home sale contingency because I feel like we're still having multiple offers, but there's also people. I read a stat the other day that 25% of listings have lowered their price. So that means our inventory is going up to the point where we can start acting like a normal market again, and people actually finding a place to go before they sell their house. So to answer Angie's question, I would, it really depends on her situation. Like if you look at the situation, say, well, there's no way I'm never going to carry two payments. I'm never going to do that. I don't even want to chance it. Then you would have to do a home sale contingency or sell yours first.
Yeah.
Either one. And I think home sale contingencies right now, although I'm sure sellers are going to be slow to come to the table. But I've seen title being paid recently. I've seen closing costs being paid recently, and there's no more of that multiple offer. There are on some, but not on everything. I
Yeah.
would say you can find a house that you can make a home sale contingency on.
And again, I'm gonna double on that. That's really an excellent question because I move a lot of people in from across the country, different situations like that, even local. And there you go. Oh yeah, hey, welcome. Come on. We'll take it. I'll let you read this. This is good, Rodney. She's coming in from California. That's what I work with a lot of California people. When you have a house to sell and you're trying to move, what you run into is a situation where you're trying to time the purchase of the next home with the sale of your last home. And that's incredibly tough for one reason. If you've got yours for sale and you're looking for a house in the new state, there is no telling when the house that you really like is going to come up. And so what I teach people and what they've done repeatedly, and it sounds crazy, but it's called a plan B. And that means a place to pitch your tent after you've sold your home. So we'll have people, oh, you'll do great. You'll do great. She said she'll have, I think this is public for sure. She has quite a bit of equity, so she'll do well. But plan B, I had some people move up from Florida and they were thinking about putting their house on the market and then coming up and looking for properties while that one went into, they don't call it escrow there, but while it was under contract. And I told him, I says, look, to think that we're going to find a house that dovetails with the sale of your old house is dreamland. That's just not going to happen. Or you'll end up compromising on a property you don't really want just to get a roof over your head. So they came into town. Sure enough, they were able to figure out a place to stay for a while, which sounds really inconvenient. But it took us 3 months after they sold their house and they moved here and stayed with friends is what they did. But it took them 3 months to find a house that really works for them. But it's the perfect house. They weren't under pressure. And Angie, that's what I'm saying is that a plan B to get those things to mesh is really here's my word. It is frictionless and stress-free. Otherwise, it's beat the clock and you're trying to buy a house that may or may not fit your needs. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just my email's all over the place. Text or email. I'd love to flesh out more of that question. So we've got, hopefully that helped. And with 550, with what's happened, and that, you'll do really well. Well, the cash, this is a good conversation here, Rodney. We're going to keep rolling with this.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I can see her comments in the section there.
Okay.
I I agree with her. That would be the worry. I just think the market in our area right here has shifted to where we have a little bit more time now. Now, I understand that the perfect houses may have several offers and go above list price and wouldn't ever take a contingency. So I think that we're finally in a market where I think people can look at the house, take their time, and look at the house and make an offer, and work out things like this.
I agree.
Like a home sale contingency.
I think that we're getting to the point where that's going to be more acceptable. Now, in a market like Nashville, do you think there's a chance that might lag a little bit because it's still pretty hot here? Or you think that the sellers are more open to contingencies these days? That's what you're saying.
I think I think they're coming around. I think there's every week we're seeing more inventory come above. I mean, yeah, we kind of periodically checked a few of our school districts um, in our area here in Williamson County, and what we'd pull up, and it'd be like we'd pull up, say, 4 or 5 school districts, and 0 houses were for sale in all of those school districts. And now I'm seeing each school district have 30 and 40. So not all of those are great picks, right? But that's a lot more than 0, you know. So
Yeah.
and with nationwide, the figures coming out that 25% of the houses are already lowering their list prices instead of having multiple offers. I do think the market here is cool. I don't think, and when I say that, I don't think prices are going backwards.
No,
I
no.
think prices are holding steady. Um, but I do not. I think it's easier to buy a house here, and meaning sellers don't rule the roost right now as much as they did.
Yeah.
You know, home sale contingencies, repairs, closing costs, all that could be back into play with us.
Yeah. And I think that, in my opinion, and I could be wrong about this, but when we see price reductions, and there is a lot of price reduction going on. I think that that's agents and sellers learning their lesson that they can't just ask whatever they want and the house will sell anyway. I think the houses that are priced properly are still going within a few days, and they're still going to be competitive. But the ones that are overpriced, they're getting, I'm not going to say beat up. They're learning their lesson that people are going to put up with that anymore. So,
Right.
all that being
Right.
said, that's really good. Angie, thank you. And Chattanooga is awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, that I think that those days are close to behind us. I don't want to try to predict anything because that invariably goes wrong, but I think that you're correct. You're not going to have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I like that. I like Angie's comment because honestly, I've told my LOs and everybody here that I don't have a lot of clients that are wanting to pay 50,000 more than the sales price. I
Yeah,
mean, a lot of my clients are sitting on the sidelines waiting to, the ones that need to move or whatever, kind of seeing what happens and wait for this frenzy to end because they're not they don't want to go out and pay, 100,000 over whatever it takes sometimes to win those bids last year and, some of the year before. But I'm with her. She's my kind of client because none of us are wanting to overpay for that house. It's that had been going on rampant for the
yeah,
last years.
yeah. I agree, and I think that again, the sellers are going to they're going to have to come around. So, but that leads us to the next thing, though, Rodney. Is so we've got. I'm pretty sure there's different versions. It's case by case with borrowers and programs, I would think. So we got conventional, we got FHA, we got VA, we've got all kinds of programs that can help, like THDA, stuff like that. Those are still out there. Haven't used any of those for quite a while. Assistance programs, I guess it would be. Um, so with the pressure coming off, the all cash offer idea, does that become less important? Is that kind of what you're saying a little bit?
Yes, I think it is. When there's more inventory, that helps with multiple offers. We've got more inventory. We've got the rise in interest rates have cooled it down some as well. So you have a couple different factors slowing the machine down that it's been going.
Right.
But yeah, it's still competitive enough that where I think it definitely adds some values. A lot like if somebody comes to me and I'm able to put them, and it's really basically it's not even a program. It's just when we get so comfortable with somebody, we're going to do a lot of legwork up front, and when we get comfortable with it, we're going to write a letter for them that says basically it's a cash offer and it removes the financing contingency from the contract. If they want to do something with the appraisal, like say, we don't care if it comes in 200,000 low, and we document that they have those funds, we can put that in the letter. But that's a customer request,
Right.
based on, because there still are those properties, like say if they run into a property that they just got to have. They're moving from an area where they see the value in this house as being more than the value where they came from, but still at a less price, like California buyers are doing. They're selling a house there that's probably smaller and maybe less of a yard than when they come here. So they see the value in that house. So we're still able to provide that program for them, that letter for them that turns them into a cash buyer that helps get their offer accepted. That's all we want to do. And there's no cost to it, obviously.
It's free. Now, but the loan type, is it a particular loan? Is it a fixed rate?
It's conventional. We would do arms, but we don't have a lot of requests for the arms now. We have people looking at them, kicking the tires on them, but not a lot of people are taking them.
So just so I can flesh this out for anybody that's going to do a replay on this, it seems like we've been going around and around a little bit, but it's been really good to understand this all cash deal. What you're saying is that you, F&M, if you're comfortable with somebody, and I assume they have to qualify, go through underwriting, I would expect.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And once they've done that, in other places they call it pre-certification, which is, pre-approved on steroids. That's where you actually go through and underwrite. But
Right.
you're saying if they've gone through underwriting and you're comfortable with them, you will allow them to write an all cash offer. And if they lose their job or something like that, you're still going to back them?
We still close under job loss, yes. We still close the loan. It's that now. Let me say this: that is up to them if they close the loan. If they lose their job and the customer wants to close, we will still close. Since we have put out the approval letter, we are basically guaranteeing the funds are going to be there at closing. If they lose their job, we are going to be there with funds as long as the customer wants to. Now, if they've lost that's something that the customer is going to have to decide, because if I lose my job, am I really wanting to take on a house payment, that's maybe more expensive than what I got, or rent or whatever. So that's just something, is going to be, but yes, we will be ready.
Yeah. And that's really my whole point. And this isn't a program. This isn't a government program, or, you haven't seen this anywhere else. And the reason I'm excited about putting this out there on this live stream with you and me and my channel is you offer this. You're the guy that's offering. And if anybody has a desire to do that and feels the need, and that's what Rodney will help you decide. His contact information's in the description box. That's, again, we're not trying to sell you anything, but I mean, that sounds like, it almost sounds like it's too good to be true. But what I think it is you've underwritten somebody well enough that you feel comfortable with it as well, right?
Yes, and it's the two ways one way we mitigate risk is, one, we really have a great processing and underwriting team that is good. They're good at what they do. So when we go through when they go through their hands, we just feel like out of 1,000 loans, if we did 1,000 loans like this, we don't, there may be only a couple of mistakes. And our boss, or the bank, F&M Bank, they are confident in our abilities to look at this and make good decisions. And they're also wanting to they've heard our struggle, right? We come in here, and every time I meet with my boss, we're crying about, we can't get contracts accepted. Everything is cash. Everything is cash. My realtor's writing 17 offers and not getting them. And so he's like, hey, we can use a pile of cash and fund these things, and take a little bit of a chance for our clients and help them get contracts accepted. So they felt like the risk was worth it for us, our real estate partners, and our customers. So it was, we loved it. We think it's a great deal. And I want to tell you, Andy, it's helped. We have had several contracts go right to the top of this thing. And when we have a letter out, they are being accepted.
Yeah,
The sellers are taking this cash offer letter.
that
It is
that
it's
really,
working.
yeah, it sounds like I'm really excited. When you told me about it, I was like, what? I couldn't believe that. Um, Jordan had a comment in here I want to address as we start thinking about wrapping up a little bit. And I'm going to add this so we can see it, is selling and short-term renting or staying with family while looking to buy the best option for somebody in Angie's position. And my answer to that is very possibly. Here's why. Because I just had another California person, not, I'm just saying that's what it was. And he is in investments and things like that. But for somebody in that situation, you're trying to do two things. You're trying to sell at the high point and buy at the low point. And we happen to be at that inflection that it transcends anything we've seen. Like Rodney said, prices aren't going to drop a bunch, but they're not going to do the skyrocket thing in either, right? So if you're able to sell at the high point, which seems like it's now-ish, that's you're going to have your best opportunity to get the highest price. And then wherever, if it's Chattanooga or Georgia or someplace like that, to be able to pitch a tent, rent a place, something, and wait for the prices to moderate, you're going to win on both ends. That's my take. Does that make sense, Ron?
It does.
Okay, that's where we're going with that. So let's see. Let's do just a couple more things. It's been really good. This has been really fun. So just a couple more questions, Rodney, because you're the smart guy in the room. um, Not showing a job. Yeah, I get that, Angie. You can see she was mentioning about rentals, how they won't rent you a place if you don't have a job. They almost underwrite you to get rentals these days. There's truth to that. She's right about that. So let me ask you this: in a basic sense, what is the underwriting process like when somebody talks about getting an all cash offer put together? We're going to have to go through underwriting naturally. What does that in a basic sense mean?
Basic sense is, once we take the application, we'll run through it, pull credit, look at everything based on what the client provided, and if it fits certain criteria, at least 10% down, good credit score, certain debt to income ratios, we're going to slate it for that program, right? So what we immediately do is we ask for, like, your tax returns, your pay stubs, your bank statements, whatever's relevant to verify the application, basically. And we'll even call and get verification employment to or do it online, something like that. We'll look at your assets, where they're sitting at, if they're in checking account or a 401k or a whatever kind of account. We're going to look at that and make sure there's no issues there. And once the underwriter's going to look at it and say, hey, I really like all this stuff, but give me one more thing, get me this or whatever she's missing. And then we get that, and all this shouldn't take place for less than 5 business days, assuming the client gets the documents fast. less than 5 business days, we're making a decision on that loan on the cash offer piece.
So, and it also at the same time, it's going to help you when you go through the underwriting process. It's really going to clarify what kind of loan program you should get too, right?
Right. Yeah, we'll have a good handle on that right off the bat once we see credit, assets, and have a conversation with the customer regarding, how they're wanting to structure the loan. Like, how much did they have to put down? Did that include closing costs? What they want their payment to be at. And we're going to work through all that. And then we're going to even look at, hey, rates are at this today. We're going to raise it up, a quarter, 0.3%, something like that, and say, hey, if rates continue to go up, this is what it looks like. We just want to be crystal clear, everything on the table, and no surprises for anybody.
Right, which is really, that's the rule that we've always lived by that's how we've operated our business for years, is no surprises. So
I'm too old for surprises, Andy.
Do you have time for 2 more questions?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
We'll come back to that, Angie. The next one is this is going to be the hottest topic, and it is out there. Do you think now is a good time to buy?
It certainly is. It's a great time to buy now. You got 2 factors. One, can you buy and not overpay, right? So if you can answer that question, to me, I still think it's a great time to buy. If you're buying and you have to buy right now, and you end up getting a property that has 12 offers, then my answer may change if you have to pay a lot over what you're going to, a lot over the asking price. Right.
Like Angie was saying, she's not paying 50 over, and neither am I.
Right. So if you find the house you love at a good price, 100%, or not even at a good price, just what the market price is. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like, if I didn't have to buy, would I be buying? I wouldn't be buying if I had to overpay. And if I didn't have to buy, I wouldn't be buying with today's interest rates. But if you are buying, or if you need to sell, rates are what they are. They're going to make your payment a little bit higher until you can either restructure that on a different term, or rates come down and you refinance it. I would not let rates stop me from buying, because you're going to lose more on the sales price going up a year or 2 years, whatever you're going to wait. Right. And appreciation in this market it's still going on. It's still going to go on. It's a fabulous area. People are moving in all the time. Our demand is still good. It's just not crazy. So if you don't want to pay more for the house, now is the time to buy.
And that leads me to my last question. Then we'll address Angie's, if you got time for that. Is the interest rate the most important number to look at? Because I remember somebody told me years ago that we can all get caught up on that interest rate number. That's not the only number to consider when you're getting a loan. Is that right?
It's vitally important to your payment, right? But yeah. I'm going to ask you a question that when people, because that's all people talk about when we're going through the
right,
and it's extremely important. It is. It's how you compare. You need the best interest rate possible. Okay. Andy, do you know what your interest rate is on your house?
I do.
You do? Okay. You're one of the few.
Well, you gave me the loan, and it was, yeah.
And I ask that because it's so important at the time. But once you get in, you're like, I don't even know what my interest rate is. You may know about where it is, but a lot of people don't. So, no, your interest rate is not the most important. If you buy if you look at a calendar year and you say, I'm going to buy in 2022, your rate is going to be determined, and your rate is it is what it is, because you're only available to buy that month or that 60 days you're in that window. Right. And this thing is like a stock. So, it's going to be going up and down, up and down, up and down. and you're just going to catch it on that graph whenever it is. So
Yeah.
you need to shop. You need to get the best rate you can. You need to get the best fees you can. But it is not. It's way down the list. I would actually put interest rate behind features on a home. I would put how my media room is going to be, or how my garage is, or those kind of things before interest rate.
Right. Okay.
Because if it's bad, like today, if it's high, you can always refinance it later.
Right. And the only reason I ask that question, and we'll go to Angie's question, is because I know that that is a showstopper for a lot of people in terms of if the interest rates are this or that, it stops their process, and
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. So what Angie had, and I think I can answer this, but you can kick in with me. It says, so everybody else can see. Let me add this. Keep grabbing the wrong mouse. So if all cash and no debt, how long would it take, and what else to be looked at? If, for example, if a client of mine came in and they've sold their house, they've got liquid cash in the bank waiting to be something done with, you can go out and buy your house, and you are the one that makes the rules. I mean, if you want an appraisal, great. If you don't, great. You want an inspection, great, for your own peace of mind. If you don't, great. You have complete control over buying a house when you have cash. If you have a loan, even a friendly loan with anybody, that there may be some limits, like appraisals may be important, or there's going to be, since the bank's essentially buying the property for you, they're going to have rules that they need to follow. But if you're bringing cash, there are no rules. And that's where you got to have somebody. I'm not trying to sell anything. That's where you need to have somebody to guide you through what is important, what's not important. Because somebody can tell you, hey, just go give them a stack of $700,000 and you get your house. Well, you can, but you might want to have it inspected, different things like that. So, and how long would it take? As long as it takes for the title to clear. What does that take? About 5, 6, 7 days for title to clear?
Yeah, it's not long. I mean, most cash offers are doing it, in 10 to 14 days, and that's plenty of time for a cash offer.
Yeah, yeah. And so to finalize your question, what else is looked at? It's whatever you want looked at. And for that particular idea, that's where you need to have a trusted person that can tell you what's important, what's not. I'm exhausted. This was good. Angie, thank you for everything. I'm really glad that you were here. You're a great contribution to our dollars and cents live stream today. Rodney, you got any final thoughts?
Just keep on keeping on. I am excited about this market, believe it or not. I think I told somebody the other day that I wasn't participating in the recession. Because we are sitting here in Tennessee and Middle Tennessee. Our area is phenomenal. I don't. We're furthest thing from a I don't know. I call it a recession or anything. Our market is fabulous around here. So we have normal clients, and when I say normal, just not somebody paying cash and willing to pay hundreds of thousands over list price.
Yeah.
We have a normal market kind of normalizing, in my opinion, and it's very good. It's very good. I would a great time to buy, or not the great time to refinance, but still a good time to buy.
Hey, listen, thank you very much, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 1:00.
Yes, sir. Look forward to it. Thank you, bud.
Thanks, Angie. Thanks,
Thank
Jordan.
you all for joining in.
Bye.